You have to drive more than 3 hours from Brisbane into rural Queensland to meet a man with a very bold claim.
Work on the soil.
Former IT worker AJ Miller says he's Jesus, and what's more, his partner is the woman who watched him die on the cross, Mary Magdalene.
I have very clear memories of the crucifixion, but it wasn't as harrowing for me as it was for Mary and others who were present.
The controversial couple are wary of journalists and insist on filming us as we film them. AJ Miller denies he's a cult leader, but there's increasing concern about his extreme beliefs.
I did resurrect quite a number of people in that state, including a friend of mine, Lazarus.
Many will see his claims as ridiculous or even offensive, but not his growing number of followers, like those I met at one of his seminars. Here he teaches what he calls the divine truth, a way for people to have a personal relationship with God. Luli Favour is British and a former neuroscientist. She's given up her career to move near the couple.
It's just nice to be, instead of talking to people, being surrounded by people who think you're nuts, to be surrounded by people who understand what you're going through and, the difficulties of trying to deal with all of our emotional stuff,
Through DVDs, the internet and in person, AJ is spreading his word around the world. Followers are invited to make donations, but he stresses he never asks for money. George Hamill recently left his business and wife in California to get closer to AJ Miller and his teachings.
You believe he's Jesus, do you?
I do, yeah.
Like everyone I met here, he insists there's nothing sinister about this religious movement.
I think it's natural that people form fears, but if anybody has a chance to look into it, they're not going to find anything that's really upsetting.
But plenty disagree. The Reverend David Milliken has studied cults for 30 years, has met AJ Miller and fears for his followers.
The danger is that you'll be drawn closer and closer into his web to a point that you lose access to your social life, you spend all your money, you'll have the curses of your family ringing in your ears, and you may well lose your relationship.
I guess there'll always be people who don't believe you're Jesus, who
Of course,
will be
yeah.
quite offended by a lot of what you're saying.
Yeah, and there were lots of people in the first century who didn't believe I was the Messiah and were offended by what I said, and in fact I died at the hands of some of them.
Whether he's the Messiah or just make-believe, there are plenty ready to listen to and hang on to his every word. Jonathan Samuels, Sky News, Queensland.
Because there's all sorts of places.